Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year to everybody. I'm going to call the meeting of the Richmond City Council for Monday, January 16th, 2023 to order. May I have a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any errors or omissions, comments? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Any agenda additions or deletions?
None, your worship.
All right, may I have a motion to resolve in the committee of the whole to hear delegations on items on the agenda? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Is there anybody here who wishes to delegate on an item on the agenda this evening? For items on the agenda. All right, may I have a motion to rise and report? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Then we have the consent agenda. We have the receipt of the committee minutes, the business regulations bylaw, and the amendment for 4411 number 3 Road, Unit 106, 2022 snowfall event and the response. We have land use applications for first reading. They're going to go to public hearing on February 21st, 2023. First of all, we have 8691 Heather Street. That's rezoning from single detached RS1B to single detached RS2K. And we also have 8420 Heather Street, rezoning from residential single detached RS1B to residential single detached RS2A. Then we also have the application by Matthew Chang Architect for an agricultural land reserve non-farm use at 8160 number 5 Road. We have a motion to adopt those items by general consent. Moved and seconded. Anyone wanting to make comment on those? Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a few brief comments. Actually, first one's a question. Thankfully, when I attended the Planning Committee meeting, and this is in the item 6, the committee minutes, specifically Planning Committee meeting. On page 29, it was in the manager's report that the rezoning application for the land assembly on number 2 Road, one of the comments made, but it's not in this paragraph here, was that the owner would have to have a public information meeting. Do we have any rules on how wide they have to reach to inform people of that public meeting? Do they actually have to mail to residents nearby, following our own city policy?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, in terms of the public information meeting, that was in reference to a development permit application at the south end of number 2 Road. In terms of notice requirements, we will follow the city's procedure bylaw, same notice area as public hearing. In addition to that, the public information meeting details will be posted on the development signage that is posted on the property. We will also be requiring notices in the local paper.
Terrific, thanks for all of that summary. That was all I had on that item, and just one other item to speak, or two other brief ones. Number 8, the snowfall event and response. Again, I have reached out to others who traversed other areas during those 2 snowfalls that were referenced in this report. And again, I'll state that very positive public rating and comments that I heard. And I am very confident that the next snowfall that comes, our staff will not only have a positive response when it comes to removing snow, but also their prioritizing of sites. I thought was really great. And again, hearing how well we've done to reduce the use of salt and sand in placement of the brine solution. And one other thing about that is the 54 tickets that did go out. I did hear a number of comments where people would like to see residents where nobody's living or properties that are on hold for development, that they also, maybe the people who see this need to call to ask a call for service to check those sites, because many of those are large sites and nobody lives there, nobody plows or cleans the sidewalk. So perhaps we need a special overall public search out for those properties next time it snows. And then finally, I'm not going to pull anything off the Planning Committee recommendations this time around. I do note that all the trees that are being removed from the two sites are going to fit the replacement requirements on the property, which is great. And I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. I'll be supporting everything on the consent agenda. Item number 7 is kind of cool. It's an amusement center on number 3 Road. And we did ask staff if they'll be reviewing the new business in a year's time, just to make sure there isn't any criminal activity or anything. And they assured us that they follow up with all new businesses. Number 8 is the snowfall event. You know, one of the things we talk about is the Snow Angel program, but there's a lot more snow angels out there than the ones in the report, because in my own neighborhood, there was people fighting over who was going to shovel the snow from my aged neighbor. The Ministry of Transportation dropped the ball on the Steveston overpass. The city of Richmond stepped up and did many, many passes. What I'm wondering is if the ministry can't manage to take care of the Steveston overpass, if that isn't something we should consider offering to contract out to the province, so we can make sure it gets done. We certainly don't want to see those kind of lengthy delays that we did this year or last year. Then items 9 and 10 are 2 lots that are going to be divided to build 2 houses, and in both cases, they're building 1-bedroom suites. And I encourage the developers to consider building 2-bedroom suites, because then they'd be family-friendly units, and we're in desperate shortage of those types of units. I won't be opposing them. I think that I depend on the builders and hope that they'll do the best that they possibly can. And then item number 11 is the what do you call it? Yikes, help me here. This Sarangu Temple on number 5 Road. This is 2 separate lots that are eventually going to be combined. That's not part of this motion, but they do want to send an application to the Agriculture Advisory Committee to get permission to allow for religious statues. So I was a little worried about that. What would they look like? Well, on CNCL 113, there's a picture of those statues, and they're really just simple pagoda-type statues, and there is quite a few of them, but they're only about 13 feet tall. So I think they're actually going to be an asset to the property. And this is one of the few temples on number 5 Road that's really seriously farming. They have 150 orchard trees and 6 greenhouses, and whatever they don't give or sell to the people who belong to the temple, they actually give to the food banks. So I think they're a really good example of what we're trying to do on number 5 Road on the highway to heaven. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you. Brief. I'll be supporting everything on the agenda, and I'd like to just echo a couple of comments with regard to the snow response. I just think where there, we know the MOTI dropped the ball in many cases, and they're getting a lot of discussion saying cars were on various bridges, et cetera, and so they couldn't deal with issues regionally. And unfortunately, I just think we should just do it on the various portions within Richmond. You know, our men and women did a very, very good job in terms of our snow issues in Richmond. We're not what other communities experienced. We got just as much, but the brine versus the salt, and it showed that brine does work. And we're way down with 5,000 fewer tons of salt. And thank you to Larry Ford. And I think publicly we have to thank our people. We did it committee, and I think we echo that again. And a lot of people got together because it was an abnormal snowfall and at different times. And we're going to continue to see these kinds of climate changes coming in with the various atmospheres. So it's not going to just stop here. What we have. And I thank the RCMP for telling people that they had to clean their cars off. It's amazing when it froze on there and things were coming off roofs or off the back and hitting your windshield, and it stuns you for a bit and splatters all over your windshield, and you're blinded, even though your wipers are going back and forth as fast as you can. You know, it creates accidents, and I'm sure some of them haven't. And so I think everybody continued on it. I know nobody talked about the increase in expenses. on it. And I think given the severity of it, we can justify what we had spent in that area. So your worship's kudos to everybody all around, and people picked up. Hopefully we can ask and publicize more. Please shovel your neighbor's sidewalk, especially something that's at least 3 feet wide that people can walk through, sort of the bike lanes and those kinds of things. The one thing I did have, it came up in the committee, that we didn't have a machine that would deal with bike lanes. And I would like to ask staff, and maybe just take it under advisement, I'd like to know what the price of those machines are for futures, that maybe we should invest in that area, where areas where things are not as palatable as others, especially in the subdivision area, and whether they would work on a sidewalk as well. A bike lane, many of our bike lanes are, 12 feet wide or 8 feet wide. So I'm wondering if we could maybe just find out what the cost, how to get them, et cetera. And
Let's
you
ask
never know.
Suzanne.
Suzanne?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, we are buying a mini sweeper to help us clean the delineated bike lanes. And as part of that, we will be getting an attachment that we can use to help clear the bike routes as well on that. It's approximately $200,000 to $225,000 for that machine.
Okay, probably, in my opinion, well worth it. Thank you very much, and greatly appreciated. So that's all I have, your worship. Thank you.
Okey-doke. So with that, I'm gonna call the, sorry. You need,
Yes, I'm present. It disappeared.
oh, there you go. Counselor Al.
Yes, Your Worship. I'm going to support everything on the consent agenda. However, I have two items I want to comment on and ask some questions. The first one is on the snowfall response. First of all, I would like to thank staff for having done a good job on the snow removal during the critical periods. And generally speaking, we received very good comments and feedback from staff, from the public. Now, of course, it's very disappointing that we have seen the MOTI not living up to the expectation in terms of cleaning the main highways in time. And many of the problems we have in the city was not caused by us, but by the problem being created over there. And I'm also disappointed that, as expressed in the last standing committee meeting, there's no sign of the MOTI getting a snow response preparation, even after the weather focus has been giving out warnings. Now, I want to ask staff, we are now going to write a letter to the provincial government, MOTI, etc. I just want to know, do we have ever talked to them before in terms of coordinating some kind of response? Or is this the first time that we ask for this kind of communication?
Through your worship to Councillor Al, we do talk to the contractor, Main Road, from time to time. What we're suggesting here is that we need to have more official discussions with MOTI themselves on the service level to clarify who's going to do what and at what cost if the city's going to do some things that are under their jurisdiction.
Well, that's very good. I think just talking to the contractor may not really work. I have to talk to higher level. Now, my second question is not a question, but a suggestion. Now, we received a memo, regarding the Stevenson Overpass servicing for ice snow response. Last week, we read from the newspaper saying that, okay, as if our staff are not, being responsible enough. So I want you to explain to the public, what this memo is about. Actually, what was the situation regarding the overpass and the cleaning of the overpass during those periods.
Through your worship to Councillor Al, the issue was that the on-ramps to the Highway 99 for the tunnel were not done. There were several areas that were not done as they should have been, and it created a backlog of traffic on the overpass, which our trucks would generally travel over and treat while they're doing both sides of Stevenson Highway, but we were unable to because of the traffic being backed up. So through the RCMP contacting us, they were able to assist our drivers to drive on the opposite side of the road, which is something our drivers would not normally be able to do because they have to follow traffic laws. So we were actually able to attend with the RCMP support and clear the overpass so they could clear the vehicles that were blocked on the road due to ice. Their tires had actually frozen on the road because of the conditions.
So in other words, our staff were doing what they could to help with the situation instead of being seen as not doing anything or dropping the ball.
Through your worship to Councillor Au, that is correct.
Thank you. My other comments on item number 11 regarding the non-farm use application for the temple. Again, I'm supportive of the application going forward because it's largely the same applications before. And it was very unfortunate that they were being approved by ALC before, but due to miscommunication between the architect and the temple, the time the permission was expired. And as being commented by one of my colleagues, I think this temple has been doing very good job, in terms of using the backlands for farming. So I think that's a very good example, and I hope that this can be followed by many more churches or institutions on the 5 Road. So with that, I support everything on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. With that, we're going to call the question then on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Brings us to the public announcements. From our January 16th, that's today, closed council, Trustee Heather Larson has been appointed as the Richmond Board of Education Liaison to the Richmond Child Care Development Advisory Committee for a 1-year term to expire on December 31st, 2023. Trustee Alice Wong will be the alternate. And also that the Development Permit Panel on February 1st has been canceled. Then we just have a few other general announcements. The city is encouraging everyone to join the Participation Move for Your Mood program as a way to stay active over the winter. From January 16th to the 31st, you can take the Mood Challenge by downloading the app, discovering ways to stay active, beat the winter blues, and win prizes. So if you're interested in that, go to theparticipaction.com. Then there's an engagement opportunity for the dialogue on homelessness. Richmond residents are invited to come together for an in-person community conversation on homelessness. The 2 sessions take place in February. Participants will learn about the challenges of homelessness and the significance of having a home. So go to letstalkrichmond.ca for more information. Then we have the annual Arts Awards, and we're looking for nominations, which are now open for the 15th Annual Richmond Arts Awards. Nominate an emerging or established artist, an arts leader, a cultural practitioner, an educator, a group, or arts business that has significantly contributed to the arts or is deserving of recognition. Nominations are open till March 13th, so for details on that, go to richmond.ca/arts awards. And finally, we have Lunar New Year, which takes place this coming Sunday, January 22nd, which ushers in the Year of the Rabbit. Numerous colorful and festive celebrations will take place across Richmond, featuring lion dancing, Tai Chi demonstrations, and much, much more. So for details on city events, please visit our website. And on behalf of City Council and the city itself, we wish everyone a safe, prosperous, and joyful new year. So with that, we have bylaws for adoption, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 3 bylaws for final adoption, all with no noted opposition.
Move all 3. Moved and seconded. Any discussion on those? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Just before we adjourn, I just want to reflect that we have a group of students from the Langara Journalism Program who have joined us. Their instructor is Barry Link. Some of you will remember Barry Link from his days at the Richmond News way back in the day. He learned everything from us. So you kids, just keep that in mind. But you know where we are. Clay Adams is there. If you've got any questions, he's there, or any one of us can answer questions that you may have. It's been a bit of an unusual meeting that it's so short, but I think from it, you can get the idea. So on behalf of Richmond City Council, thanks for coming and joining us. With that, can we have a motion to